Good day, beautiful goddesses. Good day. All right, let's see here. Set this up. So we are recording day 4 of this round of the 7-day manifestation challenge. Um, using goddess codes, and I'm getting my notes. I'm here. I'm actually moving a little bit slow today. Okay, so we're on day 4, and day 4 is about manifestation through a pleasure and joy. So I'm having to make some adjustments because I'm sitting outside and it is getting windy. And you don't want all my shit to blow away. So the theme is the feminine receives with ease. And I kind of went into this yesterday about a lot about the feminine receiving with ease. And that's the whole focus, to be honest, right? Like this is everything that we do um from a feminine perspective is through ease and flow, right? So of course, the more that we are in a receiving mode, a receptive mode, the more things come to us very easily. So let me see. I was going to just record on your manifestation, like your shifting technique, but I just want to get into the main subject, and a lot of that information is already in here for you. But the feminine receives with ease. So the activation here is aligning with abundance through pleasure and gratitude. What does that mean? That means that the more that you align yourself with pleasure and gratitude, and not just the thing, the person, the situation, the money, right? When you live in alignment with pleasure and gratitude, it allows you, because it puts you in your feminine energy, it allows you to receive with ease and joy. So the happier you are, right, the more delicious life is, the more fun you are having, it automatically puts you in alignment. So when you simply are living life, following your desires and living for the deliciousness of it and the enjoyment of it, and you are so thankful for the experiences of it, you're automatically in divine feminine flow. You are automatically in alignment with everything you desire. You are automatically um, materializing everything that you want. Like it sounds so simple. It is not done as simply in the beginning, right? So it is very easy for me now to think about, ah, I need to get happy. What makes me happy? And like just dive in. A decade ago, it was hard as hell. It was so hard. And I have a very easy read book called Create Your Own Crazy Beautiful Life, right? It's a very easy read. It has 12 sections, and each section has a series of affirmations and a physical practice. If you are new to manifesting, if you find that you are struggling with, and I'll put the link on today's thing so you can see it, but I'm going to put the link to the main page. It's also inside of University on the left hand side at the bottom. There's like 4 different links. One of them says books by LaMeel. So the point of this book is, if you're just starting, if you're having difficulties, if you are battling anxiety, depression, a shitty relationship, if your emotions are out of control, if meditating is hard, any type of meditation is hard, this book is for you. I think it's like $12. All right. Or less. Maybe it's even $6. I don't fucking know right now. But what's the point? I was being like, I was in such a bad way. I won't even say bad way. My frequency was such that at that point in my life, my bad day today was still a day I could not, was still such a good day that I could not yet conceive or imagine back then. Does that make sense? I'm saying that my bad day now was still out of reach as a good day back then. But I was determined to feel better, to be better, to elevate and to move. And so I started implementing really, really simple practices because that's where I was. And when people would be like, I was even listening to like Abraham Hicks and I was doing, and it was like, what the fuck? Like, I can't get there. I couldn't hold a good vibe for 12 seconds and then another, 24 seconds and make it to 78 seconds at that time. I just fucking couldn't. So, yeah. And so my son's 13. I wrote it before he was 1. So this is, yeah, over a decade ago. Right. But I could do the things in this book. And I started writing down the things I could do as I did my research. And I kept the things that worked. And boy, did they work. And I went from that space to feeling better, to creating the book that made me feel better, to becoming a coach, to developing a business, to becoming stable, because in that time period, and everything wasn't perfect, but it was better, right? So I lived in a house, the house sold sooner than expected. The kids and I were staying in a hotel. We stayed in a hotel for like 2 or 3 months. Maybe, was it even that long? Initially got a new house, and after just about a year, the owner was having financial issues and they sold the house, and the house sold faster than they anticipated. So it sold before my lease was up, and we ended up back in a hotel looking for another house, right? But the second place was way better, right? And I just kept growing from there. Things continuously and consistently got better. My practices developed, and life just has continued to get better. So much so to where I tell people you have to find the manifestation techniques that work best for you. So I'm bringing this full circle. Just stay with me. Today, and back then I didn't have goddess codes, okay, because goddess codes should be in that book, but it's not, because it's one of the easiest manifestation techniques I have ever. When you don't have control over your emotions and you don't have control over, or you feel like you don't have control over your mind, your physical circumstances and things like that, goddess codes is method 1. But today we're talking about manifesting through pleasure and joy. And when I first started doing these techniques, before I got to the point where I had done them enough to be able to write a book, right, I could not get to pleasure and joy. I was in survival mode. And that's where that book comes in. That book is for those who are still living in survival mode, who find it difficult to think of shit to be thankful for day to day. because I was that deep in survival mode. And those are the techniques that got me out of, borderline, I'm surviving and I want to end it all. So if some of the methods and techniques that I'm talking about through this 7 days is hard and feels out of reach, please know there are things that are available. Everybody can't start here. So some days, like day 1 may have been good. And as we move through, it's like, this is too much. I can't do it. Go to the book. Go to the book. Start there. This will be here forever. Come back. But raise your frequency. You can't get from step 3 to step 12. And if this is feeling like a step 12 from where you are, get the book, and it's going to give you some step 2, 3, 4, 5 activities. Okay. So now we're going to shift into the pleasure and joy, because ideally that is our perfect state, right? Is pleasure and joy. We were designed for pleasure, to receive pleasure, to experience pleasure. Like that is our whole purpose, is for pleasurable. And I won't say our whole purpose, but that is one of the things that we are designed to do, is to experience pleasure, because experiencing pleasure puts us in the flow, which allows us to create and materialize. And so that is where you want to be. So I'm going to share with you a couple of practices from here. One of your affirmations is that I attract all that is meant for me with ease. Everything, you should be living in ease and flow. When you get into the flow consistency, the flow becomes overflow. When you have overflow, that is how you feed and service others, right? Your spouse, your relationships, your children, your grandchildren, whatever. They live off of your overflow, because you stay in the flow and are so in the flow that you create this overflow. You never give your feminine energy from you. If you feel like you are giving from you, you are being drained, that means that you are not producing enough to have overflow. And at that point, everything else needs to be cut off so that you can fill yourself up. I know we've all heard, you can't give from an empty cup. And it's true. And what's so ironic is that if you physically have an empty cup and someone says, can I get some? And you show them that there's nothing, they accept that. But society has us built and conditioned in such a way that we are completely empty. And they see that, right? Children are forever consumers to some degree, because they came from you. They will eventually, be able to care for themselves and things like that. But you're going to always be pouring into them because you love them. Men, by nature, they are consumers. And unless they've been taught to pour in, they don't. And as long as you allow them to take, they will. So when they see you tired, depleted, circles under your eyes, hair thinning, gaining weight, tired, very few of them are going to stop taking. And I was told by several men, like, you need to take care of yourself because we need you. It was never, I'm going to take care of you. And then sometimes they say they're going to take care of you and they nurse you back to health so you can get right back to work, right? They want your utility. So a woman being depleted physically, emotionally, mentally, other people will see that and their job still expects for them to perform. Being an empty cup does not stop society from saying you still need to pour into other things. What does that mean? That means you have to be in charge of filling your cup, and your very first of set of boundaries and your energetic minimums need to be around the very fact that your cup needs to be filled. And even if your cup is full, that's not when you start giving. That's not when you start pouring into others. Not when your cup is full, when there is overflow. Because if you say, my cup is full, I can give you a little, eventually you'll be empty again. If your energetic minimum for you is that your cup is full, or that you have a certain level of overflow, if for any reason that does not exist, your boundaries will cut other motherfuckers off until you are back to overflow. Because, see, when they're living and feeding and breathing and consuming the overflow, you lack nothing. So it is a joy to see someone thrive from your overflow. It's hard to pour energy into someone who then starts to thrive as you wither away, and they don't have time to pour into you, to support you, to help you heal, to help you grow, when you know that they are where they are because you fed them energetically, you healed them emotionally. Like, you set yourself up for a whole lot of other bullshit that's not necessary. You only give from your overflow. That needs to be an energetic minimum. Then your boundaries are to protect that. So if there's no overflow, you can't give. And your boundaries are set up to alert you that, hey, that person is trying to take and you ain't got it. The answer is no. No is a complete sentence. And no is a default. If it is not a hell yes, when someone asks you, it is always a fucking no. If they ask you and your whole being does not move towards the yes, it's a hell no. You can always reconsider a no. You can always get to a point where now I'm aligned with that. And guess what? I can do it now. But when you say yes to a bunch of shit that you really don't want to do, that's not aligned with you, you start to become depleted. Saying yes to stuff that you are not completely aligned to is taking from your cup, not your overflow. So important that you implement that, if nothing else, into your life. It is harder to manifest when you are empty. It is harder to manifest when you are overwhelmed, when you are depleted, when you are tired, when you cannot focus. Okay. So you need to find joy. You need to find pleasure so you can get into the overflow. And if you're not into the overflow right now, quit giving to everybody. Start cutting those fucking energetic cords, etc. So how do you start experiencing pleasure and gratitude and aligning yourself with abundance through those things? So you can start by making a delicious meal and savoring it, like enjoying the fuck out of it. Let me tell you, on Sunday, we went to, it's actually a steakhouse and I don't eat steak, but it was for brunch. They had bottomless mimosas. And one of my favorite breakfast items is French toast. So almost every restaurant I go to for breakfast, I always try their French toast. This was the best. When I tell you this was the best, like the next day, uh, somebody at a coffee shop was like, "Oh, what did you have?" or something, and we were like, "It was French toast," and they were asking all these questions because they were French toast people too, right? So they were like, "Was it regular bread or was it, this type of bread?" and blah blah blah. And then they were like, "In France, French toast is like really a dessert," and I was like, "Oh," and it was served with this homemade ice cream, like blah, blah, blah. It was fucking amazing to the point where I normally don't even eat all my French toast, right? It doesn't matter where I go. I have to take it home and because it's too much bread. And it's a whole other story. So um this was perfect. And I had like 2 or 3 bites left on the plate. And the waitress came and said, "Are you done?" And I literally picked my plate up off the table. I was like, "Absolutely not." And I was waiting for more space so that I could literally just take my fork and spoon all of those individual pieces into all the syrup and the whipped cream and pick up pick up the all the shit. It was just fucking delicious. Find things to eat like that, because even now me telling you about it is bringing me so much joy. Trying to decide who I'm going to go there with next brings me so much fucking joy. Um, Duck tacos. Oh my God. So I normally go in to have these duck tacos. And one summer they had lobster tacos. Listen, so it's a place called Bar Taco. If there's one by you, run. Okay, but the food is amazing. And when I first discovered this a few years ago, this place, this spot, I went like, I don't know, multiple times a month, right? Because it's quick. They had great drinks, and I would just go there with like all my friends. They would be like, "Hey, you want to meet? Yeah, let's go to Bar Taco. Let's go to this Bar Taco and that Bar Taco and that Bar Taco." And the food was absolutely amazing. And so I was able to like really savor. And of course, we all would get different stuff, and we could. So, can you feel the energy here? I was with friends. It was The weather was great. I was in my spring, summer weather energy, which I love. And the food, I could taste it right now, and I'm salivating and the whole thing. And in those moments, I was fully aligned. I was fully connected. I was connected to the people, to my experience, to the food, and I was manifesting like fucking crazy. I have a girlfriend, and if you guys have ever been on my lives, she pops on and talks to me on TikTok during the lives, right? Her name is Camille. And if I'm feeling bad or my energy is low, right? She's like, "Hey, let's get a good drink. Let's get some tacos," right? She is one of those people in my life that knows how to help offset my energy to get me to a place where I can fill my cup back up to overflow. Find moments like that and experiences like that. So it could be delicious meals. Before, a decade and a half ago, when I could not go out, I didn't have the money, right? Um, I took amazing baths. Even when I was in hotels, I took amazing baths. I got stuff from the dollar store. I savored stuff. I got stuff off of Free Cycle, and my baths were legendary. And my family would be like, "Every time we call you, you're in the tub." I lived in the fucking tub, but I lived in the tub because I felt so good. And in that tub, I could get to a place of gratitude. I could feel good. Okay. Dancing. when I was alone, when we finally moved, I could close my bedroom door and I could dance how I want to dance and not embarrass my kids and not even have to engage my children. Dancing in the mirror helps. And when you're indulging in pleasure and you say things like, I'm worthy of receiving all I desire. When I was with my friends, when I was with my girlfriend, and she would come in from out of town, and we would get a hotel room, and we would get drinks, and we would get tacos and desserts, and, listen to shit on Gaia and whatever, because we're not like TV watchers, and laugh and talk about our businesses. In the back of my mind, it was always like, I'm so worthy of this. And I'm so fucking thankful for this. I went on walks, and a lot of people go on walks, but I went on what I called a gratitude walk. And I would walk around this pond. And this is when I stayed in the hotel. There was a pond on the property. So I would go out and I would walk around this pond. And the way that I would do it was every step I would think of something I was thankful for. And I would just be walking, stepping, and expressing gratitude, stepping and expressing gratitude, stepping and expressing gratitude. And one of my friends that I talked to at that time almost daily, he was like, and I never really told him what I was doing. I would just say, hey, and I was doing work for him. So he had hired me to do some work for him. And I would be like, okay, listen, I got to go do my gratitude walk. And I'll call you when I get back and we can get to work. And one day he said, your life is really changed since you started taking those walks. And he didn't even know how I took the walk, what I was doing. I would just say, I'm going on a gratitude walk, or he would call and I'd be like, I'm on my gratitude walk. I'll call you later. I'll call you back or whatever, unless it was some pressing business. So he noticed the change and didn't know exactly what I was doing and how I was doing it, but it changed it. There are other gratitude exercises. Go to my YouTube and spiral through like the manifesting playlist. And I made a lot of videos back then about gratitude exercises that changed my life. And I'll put the link to that playlist in here as well. Where's my pen? I'm going to link to the book for you guys. And the manifesting playlist. Using that affirmation, I'm worthy of receiving all that I desire. I'm thankful for having all that I desire. I'm thankful that I have this. I'm thankful for this in the present moment. Will allow you to connect with more pleasurable things. It manifests more of that. You can write 5 things you're grateful for that already exist and 5 things that you're calling in every day. And again, those videos, I used to use gratitude jars. I use a lot of different techniques. Another affirmation for you is that I attract all that is meant for me with ease. So that's the one I mentioned earlier. Hold the energy of already having it. So sometimes that's hard if what you want you've never had. So if you don't know how it feels to have it, the actual situation or thing or what have you, use the gratitude and the pleasure. Go back and pull up your memories of when you were really, really happy or you were really, really thankful. Milk those. Have you ever been around children and they'll see something funny and they repeat it 600 fucking times to where you're like, if you don't shut up. Yeah. So they're actually utilizing an amazing technique. Like it made them feel good and they milked it. So go back in time and space, even if it's something on television, whatever it is, and pull it up and milk it. You know, when you see your friends and you have an inside joke and you guys keep saying it over and over again and you can't stop laughing and it's funny every fucking time. If you have a video that you watch that you always laugh at, go back and watch it. Because when you can get into that feeling of joy or pleasure, excitement, gratitude, the longer you hold it, the more time you allow for more thoughts, energies, ideas to show up. And that second idea, that second feel good moment, that second whatever, that's the first sign of manifestation is happening. You make a conscious choice to feel this way, and then you remember something else, and then something else is brought to you, and then, oh, you feel good about that, and you know what, this is not so bad, and then somebody texts you, right? All of those things after your first conscious choice to take action are manifestations. They're all little manifestations leading to what it is that you're materializing. So the codes that I put in today are manifest for the purpose of manifestation through pleasure and joy. You can use these separately. I've given you 3, or you can stack them together. So the first one is joy. It's 519-7148. And they're typed in the course. You don't have to write them down. The code for pleasure and sexual fulfillment is 488-6489. And the code for manifestation is 318. I did not touch on sexual pleasure and fulfillment, but if you have a partner, if you enjoy or skilled at masturbation, definitely I would do that. If you have a case or sleeves that you keep your toys in, I would put that code on the toys. Okay. If you are masturbating with your hand, your finger, I would write that fucking code on my finger or my hand. Actually, I wouldn't on that actual finger, but you know what I mean? Okay. So anyway, because that's another place. And there is a complete training that I have on, manifesting through orgasms. And that's one of those programs I'm going to release. So the other thing is, if you stack all these codes together, you can use them during like an EFT tapping session, right? So start with the eye, 519, side of eye, 718, under eye, 488, under nose, 6489, on the chin, 318, and keep making the rounds. So you can use the codes together and use them for tapping. You can put these codes on candles. You can carve them into candles for candle magic, and you can journal or write them. Like you can write these codes on your mirror. You can journal the codes, and I always suggest you write them each for 28 times to activate them or speak them as a pleasure mantra. So find a rhythm. 519 7148. You see, 519-7148, 488-6489, 318. Right. Find your rhythm and speak it out loud until you start to feel pleasure. If you've got body oils and things like that, you can put that on the bottle. I often will write it on like a parchment paper and roll it and put it into my bottles. The idea is that you want this code to really vibrate through your body and frequency until joy is your baseline and your manifestations arrive through a sense of delight and deliciousness and not duty. So I did good. This we're at 12:38, and I'm going to end this session that we're in right now and then relaunch. So if you want to come back for the second, and I actually don't think I have to, because I do want to talk about our quantum or activating the frequency. So your manifestation technique today is really about quantum leaping into the timeline where your manifestation already is. So I'm going to touch briefly on that. We do have a manifestation ritual coming up on Saturday. It's part of the activation of the Goddess Code book. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit and give you some pointers. And then we'll be done with today. So I'm going to end this recording. The more I do this, the better I'm getting at it. So stop recording.